When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying, or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
And now for something completely different.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles east of the Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Capitol building in Sacramento, Fornicalia, where late at night, when I'm done, I'll go out that door right over there, and I'll smell sulfur and brimstone to no end, because that's how evil that building truly is. This is the last show of 2018, right here on the SHR Media Network. Where has 2018 gone? Well, funny you should mention that. We're going to talk to Jeff DUNETZ tonight in the first hour about that. But in the meantime, what you have to do is this. You got to belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Blaine is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted right here. Sackhead Sean started the lava lamp early for me. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. What that means is that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. If you want to watch the show to see what's happening with me, see what's happening with the lamp, and see if I got attacked by a pack of wild dogs here in the studio, you can go to the SHR Media Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel and watch right there. What I have to say also is that we don't water our drinks, just like you don't, or excuse me, we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the damned handle, because we still don't have that repaired properly. And don't forget to tip your waitress. So, this is another bifurcated show. We're going to be talking to Jeff DUNETZ for the entire first hour. And then I'm going to be coming back with California, almost reaching Nirvana. I have, I guess you could call it a bit of an editorial that I wrote today. It's about 12 pages. It's notes on the digital Second Amendment. And I'm torn. I'm confused as to whether or not you want to hear that tonight or whether we should go to Happy Stories, California. And there's a bunch of news stories that have come out, some of which I'm going to make sure that I ask Jeff about when he's on the phone. So, second hour, I'm going to play a little fast and loose with that because, after all, like I say, it's December 27th, the year of our Lord, 2018, as in where the hell did the year go? And Jeff lost one of his other Facebook pages, and we might talk about that. So he's only got one left, and we'll see. Why am I not getting it ringing through? Let's see. Because it shows here. Let's stop this for a second. Let's go back and try this again. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Looking for some noise, some sound.
Hello?
Yeah, I do hear noise. I do hear sound. It's a happy sound. It's a joyous sound. It's a joyful sound. And therefore, I can only conclude that it must be the one and only Jeff DUNETZ of the Jeff DUNETZ Show right here on the SHR Media Network on Wednesdays. So, welcome.
Oh, I know that guy.
I know that guy. He's a good guy. The only problem with that
Don't
guy...
tell anyone. I think he's, like, sleeping with my wife.
You just put that over radio, sir. Did you really want to say that?
Well, since it's me and it's my wife, why not?
Okay.
But,
all right. You can do that. This is the very last radio show here on SHR until 2019. And it's funny because, by the way, I should point this out. And Jeff was extremely concerned about it. Also, welcome to Simone in chat. Welcome to Mary Brockman in chat. Welcome to Whiskey Dale in chat. Welcome to Mike in chat. I have to tell you, folks, that Jeff was very concerned about what it is that he was going to wear tonight. And we had a lengthy discussion about it, probably a good 10 minutes. And we both agreed that tonight Jeff was going to be wearing a tuxedo. He does not customarily wear tuxedos. And he was concerned that he was going to be on video. So what we agreed upon, and we signed a contract about it, was that Jeff will be on the show. He will do audio only because he doesn't trust the video. And also, he will be wearing his tuxedo. So I want to introduce the fine and splendid Jeff DUNETZ, who tonight, just for us, is wearing the finest rented tuxedo he could locate within the past 6 hours, since that's the last time we were talking about it. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Whiskey Dale says, I sure hope pants are not required for this show. And yeah, Whiskey Dale, you're absolutely correct. Pants are not required. They are optional for this show. Okay, I got to tell you a story. This actually occurred about 5 years ago when I was still working. My job was to narrate an EVOC video. So I was doing an EVOC video, which is the Emergency Vehicle Operations course. I was telling all the cops about pursuit driving, et cetera, and some of the rules and regulations of the road that we have to admit to. And so I got called into the video studio, and they said, okay, wear your Class 1 uniform. But at the time, it was hot as hell out there, and I didn't want to wear my first class uniform because they're black. We have black, we still do. We have black uniforms, and long sleeve and hash marks and all that stuff. So I went into the studio, and as they're sitting, I'm sitting in a table, and I've got this beautiful Class 1 uniform on. Of course, I don't have a beard or long hair, and my mustache is all in line, and my hair, all two of them, are combed appropriately for this video. And I should just have everyone realize that as I was sitting in the chair, I'm wearing shorts. Because I figured, hey, what the hell? I'm not going to get up in this video. I'm not going to wear my sand brown. I'm not going to wear my boots. I'm not going to wear these wool pants that we have, black wool pants. I could kill the damn sheriff who transitioned us from a green uniform over to a black uniform because that's so luscious to wear in the middle of the summertime when it's 115 degrees outside in blazing California heat. Good God, mister, do they have no shame? Do they have no consideration for us? Now that story is over, Jeff DUNETZ, tell us where you can be found on media. Give us your website and give us your areas of social media where you can be found. Pretty please, sir.
I can be found at lidblog.com.
Yes.
lidblog.com.
Yes.
I can also, my Twitter is yidwithlid. I don't know what my Facebook is kind of screwed up right now.
Yeah, tell us about that, because you said you had more than one Facebook page, but however the hell it happened, one of your two Facebook pages got eliminated. How does that happen?
Well, I don't know, but there are some nice people at Facebook working on it for me.
You're actually getting something out of Facebook.
Well, I don't think it was
purposeful.
It wasn't a content punishment.
Okay. Well, that was my next question. Hey, Mike, welcome to Mike and Chat. So this wasn't a slap down, is what you're saying?
I don't think so. Because I went on, believe it or not, I went to pick up my son, and when I got home, because he doesn't drive, when I got home, the Facebook wasn't working anymore.
One of them, though.
One of them.
Because I'm talking on the other one. See now?
Well, yeah, but the problem is the other one, I don't really post I post my posts on there, but I don't go into groups and post from that one. And so it's been really hard to maintain some sort of traffic because of, thanks to not being able to access groups. But we'll see what happens.
Well, I have to admit, you and I are technically challenged. Now, I also have to be, there is a disclaimer, there is someone in SHR who is way less technologically equipped than either one of us, and that's Sackheads Clint. Sackheads Clint is, I typify myself, well, I used to, and I used to typify myself as a techno-Luddite. Oh, my God, no. Oh, no, 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 no. The real techno-Luddite is Sackheads Clint. Okay, I'm in my 7th decade. This guy is in his late 30s, early 40s, okay? He can barely start a car, start a motorcycle. Social media? Forget about it. He's not going to be on social media. Oh, my God. And he also, this is interesting, you may enjoy this. He also said to me about a month ago, he said, because, Sackhead Sean isn't around anymore on the air because his schedule is all messed up. He said, when are you going to teach me the board? When are you going to teach me the board? When are you going to teach me about the new board and the new video system that we had? And by the way, I should tell everyone that this is twice as complicated as it was about a year and a half ago because we've added video as well. And so at the time, I looked at Sackhead Sean and he looked at me, and we both burst out laughing because he is, in fact, the techno Luddite. So if you and I think we're bad, oh, no, we're not. Oh, we are not.
Well, yeah, we're bad on different things, though.
But see, I bet, here's the deal, I bet you can run Facebook like nobody's business. I am a piece of crap on Facebook. I can run Twitter.
Yes, and when I get my Facebook back, and a week from tomorrow, when I become a boardite,
okay,
I am going to practice going on air through Facebook also. Along with the other stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I could do video.
Okay, yes. Facebook does give you that option. Okay. So you're going to do video, and now are you going to be connecting in a microphone to it or something like that? Or no, you would need to do that because video, or excuse me, oh, wait a minute. Let me back up a little bit. When you do the video, are you going to do the video off of your computer, or are you going to do it off of your phone or a tablet?
Well, I usually take my tablets in the morning, my medicine.
Right.
So I'll probably do it off of my computer.
Okay. All right. That's a good point. Because I have to take mine in the morning as well. So why don't I think of these things? Folks, what we're going to do tonight is talk about 2018 in retrospect, and that is to say the year is just about gone by. This is my last show on SHR for the year for 2018, and I thought it would be a great thing to have Jeff here because Jeff, go to lidblog.com, lidblog.com, and he posts once a day there, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day. He's
minimum of 3.
He's way more active than I am at bloviatingzeppelin.net. I'm happy if I get a post a day. And I've been lackluster the past week because of the holidays and whatnot. But lidblog.com, that's where I first met Jeff. And he's active as hell, has great stories. And the reason I'm saying that is because in terms of 2018 in retrospect, one of the first things that I want to go to is a story that you wrote about 2018. And the headline is this: 2018, first year in history, no killer tornadoes, but the warming scaremongers said, and then you go into your story.
Yeah, and it was really weird because after I published it, it reminded me of the theme song from my favorite movie.
Oh, which one?
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yes. Instead of that,
right?
And I almost sent that back to you on social media. I almost said, I thought, okay, do I do that? Do I say the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes instead of the tornadoes? Now, everybody was telling us this year. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you've been there, but there is folks there. If you want to find out what's actually occurring in terms of truth and facts, the guy that started the Weather Channel, and his name escapes me at this point, but he started a website called climatedepot.com, all one word, climatedepot.com. If you want to find out the truth about global warming and anthropomorphic global warming and climate change and all of that, he stops the crap.
Yes, and the person who runs it is actually a good friend of mine, Mark Morano.
Oh, okay, good. Then do you remember the guy that started the Weather Channel, that started that? Because his name...
No, actually, this was started by somebody else.
Oh, okay. All right, then I have my facts incorrect. There's a shocker. So anyway...
But you got the site right.
That's where I get a lot of my climate stuff, because what you discover, if you actually have a brain to rub together, is that for every leftist, for every article pointed out by a religious leftist, which is what I call them because you have to have faith in order to believe in anthropogenic climate change. That is to say, climate change that they're laying square at the feet of man, which I don't believe. Because climate, changes. Number one, they're called 4 seasons. And number two, we have not been keeping data sufficiently long to realize what the cycles are. For every article that you have from a so-called scientist indicating that you're going to hell in a handbasket and the climate is going with you, you can come out with another article that says, no, they're full of crap. The new trend...
Well, here's the point, BZ.
Okay.
Because the reason why it's called climate change and not global warming is that a couple of years ago they wanted the National Hurricane Center, the NOAA, to start tracking satellite data instead of the ground data because they said it would be more accurate.
Okay.
And the satellite data that was more accurate also said the Earth isn't warming.
Right, exactly.
So that's why they changed it to climate change.
Yes, because
As a matter of fact, if you look at the satellite data, the last time the Earth warmed, Bubba Clinton was wasting a good Cuban cigar in the Oval Office.
Which was a while ago, exactly. But the other thing that I'd like to point out, Whiskey Dale says John Coleman. Okay, that's the guy's name. John Coleman started the Weather Channel. Thank you. That's why I have a great chat room. Thank you for that. In any event, now I'm reading articles by various scientists indicating that because of the lack of sunspot activity and solar flares, some scientists are thinking that we're on the cusp of entering another little ice age, which is what we encountered in the, I don't know, what was it, like the 1500s, 1600s, right around in there?
In 1800s, there was one too. And actually, yeah, that's something I've reported a lot. And the thing is if it is tied to sunspot activity, well, that means that it has nothing to do with mankind.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Exactly.
But for years, they have been saying that tornadoes are increasing because of global warming. And the thing is that A, tornadoes aren't increasing.
Right.
And B, it's not warming.
Yes.
But if these guys were right, as I say in the article, we'd all be wearing ruby red slippers and walking down the yellow brick road on the way to the Emerald City, because that was a good hurricane movie. Tornado movie.
Right.
So it's just, and this was this year there were fewer killer tornadoes. And what they mean by killer tornadoes is not tornadoes that kill people. That's tornadoes that are F3 or more. So all the tornadoes that we've seen in the United States have been more minor. They've been F1 and F2s.
Well, and for the longest time, we had hurricanes that hadn't really made landfall. We've had some recently, and of course we had some down in Puerto Rico, I believe, which they're still
that was horrible.
Suffering some effects because of that, not by Donald Trump, although they were trying to make sure that he was responsible for that, when in fact he wasn't. It was malfeasance and incompetence on the part of various people in the various Puerto Rican governments. You have a quote in your story that just came out today. It says, the claims are still coming 7 weeks ago, November 8th, 2018. WNEP Pennsylvania said there were several tornadoes, including one with winds up to 130 miles per hour, which destroyed shopping complexes in Wilkes-Barre Township. Meteorologists say more intense weather could be on the way. Okay, well, we know that's true, because guess what's happening in the east right now? It's cold. And it's snowing.
I think it's cold winter.
Yeah, that's pretty much because winter started this year on December 21st. That's the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. Meteorologists say the time is now. People and businesses need to start using cleaner energy, recycle, and watch what they consume, or our weather might get even worse. Experts agree our viewing area. We saw the effects of climate change this summer firsthand. The sky, Jeff, the sky is falling. Oh, what are we going to do?
But also, in the summer, it got warm. Is that supposed to happen?
No. Oh,
what I do in the articles, I go back in history, because there was increased tornado activity in the mid-'70s, and both Time and Newsweek ran articles, which I show, that attribute the increase in tornadoes to global cooling.
Yeah, you point out also in the article, expanding to include all intense tornadoes of those F3 plus. This year's 12 also poised to set a record for the fewest. The fewest. Oh, so what happened? That's strange. And then you have another thing in here where Time magazine reported, I think back in 1974, Time magazine said scientists have found other indications of global cooling. Well, wait a minute, because I also have a little bit of a perspective. 1974. What big book came out in 1974 by a leftist? Oh, that's right, Paul Ehrlich's The Population Bomb. Because we were going to be all adrip, like that one Star Trek episode where there are so many people and we're all crushed together like herring. And again, the sky is falling, and the sky is falling now today. Imagine that. No, Whiskey Dale says, no big tornadoes in 2018. Chicken Little supporters.
My favorite, though, is below that because I actually have the article from Newsweek.
Yeah, I saw that. And
the top of the article is a map of the Earth, and it says areas of the Earth affected by climatic change. And they're talking about cooling.
Yeah, because those various bands in the newsprint right there are blue bands indicating that you're going to be ever so cold. You're going to be really, really cold. But as you also write, here's the truth that nobody who believes in the climate change hypothesis will admit. If climate change believers truly believe that tornadoes are tied to a still warming Earth, then we should all be wearing, like you pointed out earlier, ruby slippers and following a yellow brick road to Emerald City. Imagine that. Well, that's one of the things that was occurring in 2018. We got about 5 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. I'd like to go to another point here and begin to talk to you, I should say, about some of the more memorable political moments that occurred in 2018. I would submit to you that Kavanaugh's second Supreme Court hearing, that kind of was a real... that pulled the glasses off of, I think, Democrats as I called them. And to call it rocky would be a little kind, but it
made me sick.
I'd like your opinion on this because one person of what I consider to be of significant note, I believe, wholly changed his tune after the Kavanaugh hearings, and that was Lindsey Graham. Because if you heard that 10-minute, I can't necessarily... leftists would typify that as a rant, but I say it was a 10-minute, heartfelt, I'm going to have to say it was fairly emotional response to what was truly happening in front of him. And I believe that for the first time, Lindsey Graham began to see what people that he thought were his friends. And I think he actually called them and believed that they were his friends on the other side of the aisle, various Democrats. But I think the blinders were removed from him, and he began to see these people for what they truly are, because up until that point he'd been rather conciliatory and certainly willing to play along with a lot of things that Democrats wanted, a lot of bipartisanship.
But you also got to understand that he hadn't had the influence of John McCain.
Oh, true. Okay. Yes. Yes.
He spent most of his Senate career as John McCain's, little me.
Yep. That's absolutely correct. We could, both you and I could take off John McCain and make another hour show about John McCain himself and his trainee.
You know what? I can explain John McCain in one comparison.
Okay.
Both John McCain and George Bush 41 did not like President Trump.
No, that's true. I would say it was personal for them.
Right. But Bush 41 wanted Trump at his funeral. John McCain not only didn't want Trump at his funeral, but made his funeral an entire hit job on Donald Trump.
Yes, including family members.
Which one had more class?
Yeah, including family members, precisely. I think
That's
Bush...
it.
Bush 41, I submit the blinders were taken off Lindsey Graham, and he has done a fair 180 after that event, the Kavanaugh hearing.
Mm-hmm.
He's still not absolutely over to the... I can't say he's hard right. He's sort of moderate to right slightly, but he's finally discovering the nature and how hard apart leftists and the Democrats are moving these days. It was almost as if we needed the Kavanaugh hearing in order to see what the true nature of the Democrats were. We saw their true natures exposed in Kamala Harris. What's that googly-eyed bald dude? Spartacus. It was such theater. And not only was it theater, Jeff Dunetz, it was bad theater. It was really bad theater.
It was more than that. It was a hit job on a guy who coaches CYO basketball, for God's sake.
Just
a guy, and right after the hearing, do you remember that they showed what he does at night? He was working at a Catholic food kitchen, giving out food to poor people.
Yeah, damn him
what
for
a
that.
Horrible human being.
Oh, he's terrible. He's terrible. And isn't it odd? Isn't it funny? We got about 10 seconds left before the bottom of the hour break. Isn't it funny that they were saying those were just pre-planned. That wasn't really him. That wasn't his nature. Folks, we're talking to Jeff Dunetz. We'll be talking to him the entire first hour. You can find him at the Lid Blog, lidblog.com. The effervescent and ebullient Jeff Dunetz. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunetz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunetz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the bloviating You're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin right here, live and direct from the SHR Media Studio. Tonight we have the distinct pleasure and honor of speaking to Jeff DUNETZ, who is all the way from New York, not New York City, but New York City. And it's, let's see, it's 11:36 his time, which means it's 8:36 my time. And it's 1759 and 723.723, subtract 4, subparagraph 2, time in Bolivian time. I could never figure out.
And it's 6:45 in Baltimore.
Yes! How does that work? I don't get that. I could never understand.
I don't know, but that's what George Carlin always said.
Yeah, I could never understand Bolivian time, but even Baltimore is confusing these days. I just don't get it. Folks, we're talking to Jeff DUNETZ, lidblog.com. Go there now, quick like a bunny, lidblog.com, for the best in news with some great commentary from a dude who has, well, great commentary and good calves. I've seen him in shorts climbing a ladder, and I have what are you saying? I don't get it. And I've seen him climbing a ladder. The dude is like he's got great calves. Holy crap! I mean, do you?
Well, that's because I used to go up ladders all the time when I worked for my father, who was a house painter.
Okay, well, that would explain that. And also, I want to emphasize to everybody that he is wearing not just tights tonight. No, it's Sackhead Sean that's wearing tights because of his knee injury. He had a little left knee surgery this past week to repair his ACL. MNOPQRSTUV, and that stands for ultraviolet knee. And so he looks great in tights. You look marvelous. He looks marvelous in tights. And you look great in calves. And as we agreed upon today in our 3-page contract, Jeff DUNETZ tonight is wearing a tuxedo, though we are not broadcasting the video. We still agreed that he was going to be on the audio portion. We were talking about some of the notations in terms of notatiousness for 2018. We were talking about Kavanaugh.
Well, let me bring up one, if I may.
Oh, okay, please do, sir.
Yesterday, there was a commentary in the New York Crimes saying that Donald Trump is the worst president ever for Israel. Now,
okay. See, that's
now
when you say that.
Let's examine some of the big stories this year.
Jesus.
The United States recognized that Jerusalem was Israel's capital.
Right.
Something that should have been done
years ago.
70 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. As a matter of fact, the embassy that they put up is inside the green line, which means that they were on the Israel side of the 1949 armistice lines, and something that's always been Israel territory. So no one should get upset about that.
No.
The other thing is that dreadful Iranian deal that not only threatens Israel, but threatened the United States because, once Iran nukes the little state, and they're going to go after the big state, and that's us.
Right.
He pulled out of that. So, I got to tell you something. I think he's been pretty good to Israel.
I think he's been darn good for Israel.
Especially when you consider the last president, Mr. Obambi, was not only anti-Israel, but anti-Semitic.
Okay, you just answered the question that I was going to ask, and that's this, since you brought up Obama. It's anathema in what I call the American media maggots to even begin to hint that Obama was anti-Semitic. You just said it, therefore you kind of bigfooted my question, which was, do you think that Obama really is anti-Semitic? Because I do.
Not only do I think he's anti-Semitic, but it has nothing to do with his hatred of Israel.
Okay.
You look at the people who he's honored, people like Mary Robinson, who used to work for the UN and threw an anti-Semitic fair type of thing that's supposed to be about human rights, but what it was is all about saying Jews were like Hitler. Okay. Or Desmond Tutu, who is a well-loved person who believes that Jews think they own God.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because everyone knows we own the media and the banks, I think.
Right, right. Well, come on, that's a given. Jeez.
How about when he was selling the Iran deal and Obama was on a conference call with all these Jewish leaders,
mm-hmm.
and basically said that it was the Jews who got us into the Iraq War, which is something that anti-Semites like Pat Buchanan pushed.
Yeah, Pat Buchanan. All I can say about Pat Buchanan is stopped clock, and number two. Thankfully, we really haven't seen very much of him or heard much of him in quite some time.
Well, I think that people don't appreciate Mr. Buckley enough because Mr. Buckley threw Buchanan out of the conservative movement because he was an anti-Semite.
Really? No, I was not. That's interesting. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I actually wrote something. I think it was the anniversary of his death, and saying that people should be honoring him for that. But anyway, yes, Obama not only is an anti-Semite, but he surrounded himself with anti-Semites. Excuse me, but how many times did Al Sharpton come to the White House?
Oh, he was his good friend, good buddy.
Right.
Didn't Louis visit while Obama was president?
No, Louis didn't visit.
Okay, all right.
But Obama visited Louis before he became president.
Well, yeah.
However, Al Sharpton led two anti-Semitic riots in New York City. Okay, but I guess it was okay for Obama to be a friend of his.
Right,
people like that, you know. And
Jeremy Wright was a great guy, great friend of Obama.
Yes.
Wonderful guy, human being.
Wright not only hated Jews, he hates America.
Well, yeah, and Father Flieger as well. So you had sort of the best of both worlds. You had Jeremy Wright, who hated people, and Father Flieger, the white dude who hated Flieger as well.
I've done a couple of posts exposing, all with links and things like that, Obama's anti-Semitism. So yes, but no one will talk about it.
I'd like to talk about this, and I know we're going a little bit of a skew of things that, in retrospect, occurred in 2018. But when I saw this article, I knew I had to bring it to your attention because you touched upon it earlier in the first half hour. And I saw this article, and the first thing I thought was, okay, I'm sure you probably know about that, but I'm going to bring it to your attention anyway. This headline says, New York Times slammed for trumpeting Hezbollah propaganda with Christmas story about the terror group. And essentially what occurred in this story is, here's the New York Times trying to norm and make you have sympathy for Hezbollah? Okay, so the article goes like this. The New York Times was mocked this past Tuesday, for a piece that, that's the better word, romanticized efforts by the militant group Hezbollah to help spread holiday cheer. So while Hezbollah has been described as an Iranian-backed terrorist organization, the Times World section sent out the following tweet. Yeah, even Hezbollah, the Shiite political movement and militia that the United States has branded a terrorist organization, has helped ring in the season in previous years, importing a Santa to Beirut's southern suburbs to distribute gifts. Jeff DUNETZ, I got to ask you, doesn't that sort of ameliorate all the bad crap that's happened in the past with Hezbollah? I mean, come on, they're people too.
Yeah, well, one hand they're bringing in Santa Claus, and the other hand they're blowing up people.
Right, and bombs and things like that.
Blowing up people, obviously I'm not Christian, but it seems to me that is not part of the Christian spirit and the Christmas spirit, blowing up people. Now, I could be wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. Okay. This is also another...
Now
I'm sorry, go ahead,
sir.
The
other thing they keep saying is that Jesus was a Palestinian.
I've heard that allegation in passing.
Well, the problem is that in the year 135, that means 35, that, about 100 years after the crucifixion,
right?
Approximately, Bar Kokhba led a revolution against the Romans and lost. And that's when the Romans threw all the Jews out of Judea and changed the name to Syria Palestina. Okay, so there was not only is it an artificial name, but it wasn't even changed to that artificial name until about 100 years after Jesus died.
Right, but
so it is
right. And what you're saying is basically because facts and evidence. Hello, damn those facts, Jeff. What you're saying is there was no such thing as Palestine during the days of Jesus. Palestine didn't really
I hope I'm not being blasphemous.
Exist. Well, somebody's disagreeing with you right now. You can be guaranteed of that.
And they only changed the name to make the Judeans, because that's what the country was called then, sad. Okay?
Sad.
It's the only reason why they changed it that Palestina is named after the Philistines, who died out about 1,000 years before that, but they were, the big enemy 1,000 years before that.
Someone in chat has a very good question for you, Jeff. She says, so, does the Hezbollah Santa have a bag full of heads that he brings to all good boys and girls?
I don't know.
Alaskan says, better than that, it's full of bombs.
Well, the other question then is, if Al Gore is a bad boy, does he get a stocking full of coal?
See, Think about that for a second. That's a horrible dilemma. He hates coal. He absolutely despises coal. So if one were to drop a stocking of coal on his 12,000 square foot home, which is terribly energy inefficient, oh my God, that he would feel repressed. Poor Al Gore, the inventor of the internet, would absolutely feel repressed. How terrible! How sad for Al.
Well, I don't mind him feeling depressed, to be honest.
No.
You know, he knows how to handle his second chakra. I have to Google second chakra, but what am I? You know.
In the article that I read about the New York Times romanticizing and embracing Hezbollah, it says the Media Research Center Vice President Dan Gaynor wrote that the Times, quote, this is great, does the bidding of murderous Hezbollah cowards. Because, folks, if you remember, Hezbollah has a history of placing civilians in front of them as they do their dirty work in the Middle East.
Yes. Not only do they do it, but Al-Qaeda does it.
Yes.
ISIS does it.
Yes.
Hamas. That's what they do. They make us feel bad, so they use children as human shields type of thing.
Yes, and women as well. Here's another article before we go. We got about 10 more minutes before the top of the hour.
But one thing about the New York Times,
okay,
you have to understand it didn't start with terrorism. The New York Times during the Holocaust put stories about Hitler killing Jews like on page 80.
Well, I mean,
their problem is that they didn't want, at that time, I guess they didn't want people to know it was owned by Jews, so they treated Jews crappily. They actually hid the stories about the Holocaust during the Holocaust.
I don't doubt that at all. It's like the Phil Oakes song. Listen, Jeff, a couple of million Jews here, a couple of million Jews there. What does it really mean to anybody? Like Phil Oakes wrote, except out of a small circle of friends. Really? Think about that.
Yeah, what can I tell you? Jewish blood is cheap.
Yeah.
To the New York Times.
Yeah, the funny thing is, and I hadn't seen that tonight, Mrs. Beasy and I just saw a movie that came on, and it was interesting because I had never seen it. It was called Denial. It had Rachel Weisz in it, and it's about a trial in Germany where an individual who wrote a book said essentially that the Holocaust, it didn't happen. It's just terrible. So we recorded that. We're going to watch that a little bit later tonight. I have another story that I want you to comment on, and it came out of the gatewaypundit.com. And I think inherently we already knew this, but it's out there in the ozone, and I would like your comments on it as well. It goes back to the Obama era, and the headline is, Obama Deep State Spied on Israel, may have set up Israel and Trump officials numerous times. And it goes like this. The Obama administration not only pushed through the Iran deal in violation of federal law, but also most likely tried to set up Israel and the Trump campaign and administration at the same time. In a recent article in the Columbia Law Review, a few of the crimes of the Obama administration were discussed in all places, the Columbia Law Review. The Obama administration's efforts to sign and implement a nuclear agreement with Iran with limited, if any, congressional input, and at times in violation of federal law, is a particularly important example of Democratic constitutional hardball. This particular example failed to make it into the books and essays critical of the Obama administration, including lawless, because it played out toward the end of the administration, and many of the details of the administration's hardball tactics became matters of public knowledge and controversy only after President Obama had left office. And I find that very interesting, but it goes to what you said.
People say
it goes to what you said about Obama.
The process of approving the Iran deal, sadly, was not illegal, because if someone sued, they might have gotten it through the courts that it was illegal, but no one bothered to sue. the Senate gave up its rights. So, you know, he was given the door was open for him. He did hide stuff from the Senate, and that was not right and illegal. He hides stuff from the American people, like stuff that I knew before, but they denied it until after, is that the Iranians, well, they get to check out their own nuclear sites to see if they're doing it nuclear. Okay? So they self-inspect. And I got friends that went to Catholic school, and they tell me the nuns always told them when they self-inspect, their eyes go bad and they grow hair on their palms.
Yes.
Okay? But they're doing it.
This was another telling paragraph in that article. It said, one of the countries that Obama spied on was Israel. The U.S. spied on the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's nothing new, though.
Yeah, because of concerns that he would derail the Iran nuclear deal, according to a new account of surveillance operations. And despite Barack Obama's promise to curtail eavesdropping on allies, which Israel is, in the wake of the Edward Snowden revelations about the scale and scope of U.S. activities. Right. Obama hated Netanyahu.
Let me tell you a little secret.
He hated Netanyahu. He hated Israel. And I cannot think of anything that indicates that other than this article as well.
Well, let me tell you a little secret. Israel spied on him at the same time.
You know, and at the same at the same time that the Democrats were insistent upon the fact that only Trump was the person who attempted to influence elections. Only Trump.
Well,
with one major glaring exception.
Obama. That's the key thing.
Which I'm
guessing
Obama
tried to overturn or try to get Israel to vote against Netanyahu.
Yes.
At the last election.
You picked up that ball and ran with
election.
it. Yep.
With our tax dollars.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hundreds of thousands of American tax dollars to work
also,
against
it was him and Kerry.
Yes.
You know.
To work.
So the problem is that, you know, how can we worry about what Russia supposedly did to us if we were doing it to others? Or maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Yes. Obama did a lot of bad things. And yes, I believe that Obama leftovers are what's screwing Trump.
Oh, you mean in terms of people that have been entrenched in their jobs for years?
Yes. Like the deep state.
Yes. And people think that... I think I explained this to my wife not long ago, who asked me specifically what the deep state was. And I said, you have to understand that many people are trying to make that phrase deep state as something conspiratorial. And it really has nothing, if anything, to do with a conspiracy. It has something to do with what almost any organization has inherently, it possesses inherently within. But with Washington, though, its power is so much more exacerbated. That is to say, the deep state is nothing but a cadre of individuals at various places and in various cabinets and numerous federal government positions who have been there for years and have seen presidents come and presidents go, and they want things done one way. They want the butter of the toast up a particular direction, and they're not going to listen to somebody that is not an insider, and they don't want their kingdoms overturned. Just leave us the hell alone. Don't touch us, because if you do, we have the ability, the innate and inherent ability, to make your life a living hell, because we are the deep state. That's what the deep state is. It's nothing conspiratorial. It's the way D.C. works.
And the people be damned, because they shouldn't have a say in the way the government works anyway.
No. And why should unelected officials not have every bit as much power as elected officials? Because they're there longer. The unelected officials have been there longer, and they know inherently actually what's better for you than you do. Or all these pisshead little politicians like Trump, they can all go to hell.
Well, but that's the difference between liberals and conservatives. I mean, real conservatives. Real conservatives believe that the people are smart. Liberals believe that the people need to be led around by the nose.
Absolutely. Well, we got about one more minute before the top of the hour. Folks, you've been listening to Jeff DUNETZ and myself, Kibitz, about what has happened in 2018. Let me ask you this before you go, real quick, Jeff DUNETZ. Any one thing or perhaps a series of things stand out for you in the coming year, 2019? What do you think may continue, or what do you think may be new in 2019?
I think that the Russia investigation is never going to end. And they're never going to find any collusion because there never was.
Wow, that's kind of a Debbie Downer kind of thing.
What can I tell you?
I know.
And despite that, this is still the greatest country that ever existed.
Oh, heck yeah. Exactly. Absolutely.
You know.
Well, this is...
I just can't wait for it to be over so Trump can fire people in the Department of Justice.
Oh, listen. That and thoughts like that, you and I could take off for another 3 hours continuously on other shows.
Well, but here's the thing that bothers me. Trump has said a zillion times he's not going to fire Mueller. And every time he goes to the bathroom, someone in the press goes, see, he's going to fire Mueller.
That's true.
Trump's not an idiot. Okay? True. You like him or you don't. He's not an idiot. He's not going to fire Mueller.
And now we know, ladies and gentlemen, why BZ calls them the American media maggots. Jeff DUNETZ, tell us, please, where your blog can be found and maybe where you can be found on social media. Pretty please, sir.
Lidblog.com. And on Twitter, Yid with Lid. And if you can't find me, well, then follow BZ's thread because usually we're busting each other's chops or talking to each other during the day.
We are, exactly. We will see you again, Jeff DUNETZ, in probably another week or two because 2019, some new things are going to happen here in the saloon. But I will definitely continue to have you on. Folks, you need to go to lidblog.com daily to find out what's happening because Jeff has great news, great articles, great topics that he picks and then adds his own political insight and life insight to all of those other topics. Lidblog.com. Jeff DUNETZ, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight, sir.
Thank you, sir. I will talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
Be well.
Thank you. Folks, that was Jeff DUNETZ, and we're going to hit another break. We'll be right back, and we'll go into some crunchy, buttery political goodness. Trust me on this one.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is the second hour of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Jeff had to go because it's 1 minute after midnight on the East Coast. You have to ask yourself, would you stay up that late to talk to me on the East Coast? I'm not even sure I would stay up that late to talk to me. And yet, people still manage to do that, and that's why I say thank you to Jeff and to everyone that I interview who's from the East Coast, because for whatever reason it seems that most of the people that I interview on the show happen to be from the East Coast. So when they come here live, I've had some people pre-record their shows because their schedule was such that they just couldn't. But when when I have someone on live, I really enjoy the interplay, and you get a different vibe and a different interchange between people that I believe are live instead of folks that are pre-recorded. I just like that. So again, thanks to Jeff DUNETZ for having been here numerous times all through 2018. He's on the East Coast. He goes away at midnight. He gets here at 11 p.m. And wow. So thanks to Jeff very much for that. I was of two minds about how I was going to conduct the second hour of the show. I think I've made a decision, and what I'm going to do is read for you the editorial that I have not yet put up on my blog because I haven't really had much activity on my blog. It's being Christmas time and the holidays and whatnot, and less than a week from now will be January 1st. New Year's Day is next Tuesday. And I just haven't felt the need to write a lot of material for my blog. But I went to Facebook and I saw a post from an individual who at this point I shall not name because I don't think he needs to be named. But he got me to thinking. And he got me to thinking about the Second Amendment. And on the heels of that, I thought, I really want to say something before the end of the year about the Second Amendment because so many people are of two minds about it. And you may be thinking to yourself, BZ, what do you mean of two minds? Well, the issue that he was bringing up that was a response to another post on Facebook was, do we really need to be telling people how we feel about the Second Amendment on social media? Shouldn't we play our cards a little closer to our vest? And once I heard it placed in that fashion, I thought, oh, I'm going to explode over this one. And then I began to think, and there were a number of elements that went into my thinking about this, and I started typing probably now about 7 hours ago, earlier during the day. And this is what I came up with. It's called A Note About the Digital Second Amendment. And you may be thinking again to yourself, Digital Second Amendment, what the hell do you mean? So I said, is there a point in today's environment here in the United States, considering emails, considering social media, considering cell phones, considering the digital world, considering the NSA and the CIA and the FBI and Homeland Security, where you have to go dark on talk about the Second Amendment? Do you have to keep quiet these days because you are being observed? You are being noted, logged, archived, and perhaps even actively reported these days. Facebook has their thousands and thousands of leftist sycophants. We already know that. And they're watching comments and remarks and statements and postings with photos and texts that you may be posting and writing. All we have to do is listen to radio, the television, cable channels, all sorts of digital media to know that this is accurate. This is an accurate statement. And it's the same with Twitter. Exactly the same. There are leftist members all through the digital world and in the real world, just waiting for you to make a mistake. Say something out of turn. Post something out of turn. Make a remark. Make a joke. If it's digital, you can damn well be assured that it's noted and archived, no matter who is telling you it isn't. Because that's when you have to realize, at that precise moment, whoever tells you that, you know for a fact that they're lying. Think about it. The purpose of the digital world was initially convenience. Now that convenience has extended itself to its ready ability to be permanently archived, kept, stored, available for ready reference for any reason by most any of the elite leftists, your betters, those who clearly know more than you do and are simply better than you. Think, how many people accessed any amount of your digital information today, within the last hour, within the last minute? Perhaps the proper question should be, who hasn't accessed any of your digital information today, in the past hour, in the past minute? Because trust me, Everyone wants to. And the pile of persons, organizations, agencies, entities, and government representatives wanting to access everything you do on a digital plane is expanding by the hour and by the day. Think about this. So few people do. There is a reason that you are not charged money to join Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any number of the other social media sites. Why aren't you charged? Could it be because you are the product being sold? All of your information, anything and everything you put up and out there in the digital world is up for sale by those whose massive terms and conditions you so readily checked off, and then you sped on to the good stuff. Good stuff indeed. One day, I did this. One day go out there and actually read what you've just signed away, because you have signed it away. Maybe you'd be shocked. I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't. The default position, and make no mistake, the default position those in the digital world want from you is, I don't care. You are the product. You are the commodity. You exist to be bought and sold in the digital world. The current generations, they don't possess the ability to remotely understand this concept. They're too ridden with inculcation and brainwashing to think for themselves just about this and realize truly, this shit is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. Even if you didn't mean it. Even if you were joking. Even if you spoke out of turn. Even if you were too young to fully realize what you were doing. Absolutely, completely immaterial. It's there. It's archived. Get used to it. No matter what you've done, if it's digital. Now, I mentioned speaking out of turn or writing something out of turn, but only out of turn with leftists, not normal people. Unfortunately, today that also means out of turn with altogether way too much of our federal and local governments. Local governments, this is why it's a late night show. Local governments can't fuck with us mercilessly like the federal government can. They haven't yet the power. Not that they don't wish it. You know that California and New York certainly do. But that they can't yet achieve that measure and level of goose-stepping, mandating, monitoring, and throttling. Don't think for a moment that your local and state governments aren't working on it. Don't think for a moment, and don't for a moment believe they don't want to. So when you post something on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, if you're a conservative, you're marked. You are targeted. You are in the sights of some youthful leftist safety-pinning snowflake who has all the compassion and free thinking of the Stasi, the KGB, the GRU, or today's Russian FSB. They all want to be either Beria or Stalin, one of the two. And it's the same with Instagram and all the other forms of social media, except for a very few so far, like gab.ai or spreely.com or snippy.com. There's probably a few others, but I can't think of them right now. Government is watching, it's listening, and it's noting activity that they arbitrarily decide is anti-them. And I'll wager that in many forms, on many levels, on infinite platforms, when you utilize the words like liberty or freedom or Constitution or Bill of Rights or independence or Gadsden or words of a like nature, you have been captured or flagged. The words Second Amendment, you can be guaranteed that that is a red line. As somebody on Facebook recently wrote, this is the person that I referred to earlier, which reminded me of all this. The NSA isn't just a building where wholesome and patriotic people gather. He also wrote, we're being watched and noted if what we do or say is deemed undesirable. Just remember, when anyone, any entity, your own government, views you, treats you, or speaks of you as an enemy, then that's how they think of you, as an enemy. And he also wrote, if I understand that any of the aforementioned see me as an enemy, why wouldn't I then feel the same way towards them? If our founding fathers were alive today, what would they be doing under the same circumstances that we find ourselves in now, today? And so I finally I recognized that's a weighty question. That is a weighty question indeed. Let me remind you of something. Let's hearken back. Does anybody besides me remember when in 2009, under the Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, you were considered with great suspicion or a domestic terrorist if you ever, and this is a quote, ever expressed concerns of Big Brother? Were you a Christian who ever discussed the Antichrist, the apocalypse, or even mentioned the book of Revelation? Then, okay, guess what? Because I happened to see copies of this even back in 2009. And this is where I got these quotes and these bullet points. You remember this, that according to the DHS, these certain personnel qualified as potential domestic terrorists. And I was just a bit torqued when I heard these. I know what categories I fall under. I'd like you to ask yourself the same question. What categories do you fall under, and does that make you, under Napolitano in 2009, under the Obama administration, does that make you a domestic terrorist? Here were the literal categories that I cribbed from DHS literature. Expressions of libertarian philosophies, statements, bumper stickers. Second Amendment-oriented views, NRA or gun club memberships holding a CCW permit. Survivalist literature. Fictional books such as Patriots and 1 Second After are mentioned specifically by name. That's fiction, by the way. Self-sufficiently. Stockpiling food, ammo, hand tools, medical supplies. Fear of economic collapse, buying gold and barter items. Religious views concerning the book of Revelation, apocalypse, Antichrist. Expressed fear of Big Brother or big government. Homeschooling. Declarations of constitutional rights and civil liberties. Belief in a new world order. Conspiracy. You know, I don't normally quote the ACLU, but I found this quote, and I had to bring it to you tonight. Here's a quote. ACLU's Policy Council on National Security, Immigration, and Privacy, Mike German, has said as much, quote, the most disturbing thing we've uncovered in the space of domestic intelligence activities taking place today. Domestic spying is now being done by a host of federal agencies, the FBI, DOD, DHS, DNI, as well as state and local law enforcement and even private companies. Too often this spying targets political activity and religious practices. We've documented intelligence activities targeting or obstructing First Amendment protected activity in 33 states and D.C. So does this then not lead to the next obvious question? How many laws have to be passed until both the left and, trust me, even those on the right, are happy? There are now literally tens of thousands of gun laws and regulations on the books with the federal government, all of the states, and in counties and cities. Yet they're not enough. They're not enough. Various governments, federal and otherwise, aren't happy with what they have. Now they are purposely going out of, this is a new trend, you've been seeing it if you've been paying attention. They're now purposely going out of their way to scribe laws that are creating felons out of once law-abiding citizens with a stroke of a pen and an evil mind. Those laws, I should care to point out, they have a commonality to them, a confiscatory element. As this person on Facebook wrote, death by thousands of pinpricks. Pull a man's tooth and he can still bite. Pull all but a couple and he can't do much. Pull them all and he can only gum you. They want to regulate the Second Amendment to the point where it is rendered meaningless, pointless, toothless against any form of tyranny. He also writes, they want to pull your liberty teeth, your arms, against the ability to resist the will of those in power, those who want control over you, and those who want to make you obedient to your will. I'm going to go out of my writing here for a second, and let me ask you this. And I used to just pose it for one side of the equation, but now, unfortunately, these days, I have to pose this question to both sides of the aisle. And I challenge you to answer this question in the affirmative. When was the last time that any leftist Democrat or Democrat socialist, whatever they want to call themselves, when was the last time that the Democrat Party expanded your freedoms, expanded your liberties, removed regulation or control? I'll give you all the time you want to answer that. I'll give you till the end of the damn show. You can send me a Twitter on at BZEP, at BZEP. Because, please, if you know of a certain rule or regulation crafted by the Democrats and leftists that expands our liberty and provides us with more freedom than we had the day prior or the week prior or the year prior, let me know. I really want to know. And I'm even throwing that out to some of the people on the right side of the aisle. I'm glad John McCain is gone. I can't say that I'm glad he's dead, although he is. And his trainee, Jeff Flake, and any number of GOP establishhacks. And here I'm going off the script again. I'm glad they're gone. Now we need more of them to go and leave, because they are exactly that. They're establishhacks. The man on Facebook continued to write. He said, during World War II, there were posters that said, loose lips sink ships, to watch your mouth so the enemy doesn't receive help from you, learning things that otherwise would be secret. He says that the deep state does exist, and we just talked about what it is, Jeff and I. And they're going to panic over the fact that they are now known to exist by the American patriots. They're not going to surrender their power, their wealth, their high positions, their control. That's not going to happen. They have their goons to do their bidding, to even murder you, to silence you. Does this really seem so far-fetched to you? In my mind, these are all excellent questions. Not specifically saying that they occurred, but we need to be asking these questions, don't we? Alvin Toffler wrote a book in 1970, and I had to read it in college. And it was called Future Shock, where he theorized about, and this big, thick book by Alvin Toffler, and I can distill it down to basically a sentence. And that's this. It's the very essence of that book was about what happens when you have too much change in too little an amount of time. Does that sound familiar to you? Doesn't that sound like maybe we can even apply that to, I don't know, another topic entirely? Immigration, illegal and otherwise. I submit that Alvin Toffler had no idea about the 2000s. He had no idea about 2018 or what we face, what we're going to face in 2019. I believe that Alvin Toffler would be hard-pressed right now to remotely attempt to assimilate and quantify how we've changed and with what amount of startling rapidity. And it's the same with social media. Norming the signing away of your rights and freedoms, your independence, your security, your privacy. And now we come to realize it's the same with the Second Amendment. We need people like myself and others to observe what's really going on around ourselves here in the United States with regard to the Second Amendment. We have to look at the reality as it exists today. There are some cities and states where, to me, it's clear, and I cannot tell you how it pains me to have to tell you this and realize, have me, of all people, realize that it's true. There are some cities and states where it is clear that local law enforcement no longer has your protection in mind if you appear to be of a certain political bent. Conservative, libertarian, Republican, religious. I don't mind specifically naming those entities because most of them are in California. The San Jose Police Department, the Berkeley Police Department, the University of California at Berkeley Police Department, the Sacramento Police Department right here, and in Oregon, the Portland Police Department. I've seen the videos. It's 9:30, and by the way, I'm not going to go to a break because it's my own damn show, and I can break when I'm over with this. I've seen the videos. I've watched law enforcement in these videos, and people have told me directly with other things that have occurred here in Sacramento. I've watched law enforcement stand still while violence existed directly under their noses and in front of their faces because they were told to stand down. Worse yet, the craven bastards and bastardettes obeyed. They fucking obeyed. They make me wretch. They disgust me. I've spent 41 years in law enforcement, and those who stand down and stand by need to be stripped of their badges, their firearms. They need to be removed from their forces and their pensions stripped because they dishonor the oaths they took. That is reality. That is reality in 2018. But here's my point. Let's do what BZ calls the logical extension. Let's look down the road a little bit. Let's look at Venezuela. Let's look at much of Europe. These people and these countries have been stripped of their collective rights to self-defense. Your very own self-defense is under the gun now, so to speak, by leftists. And this push is only going to increase in 2019, not lessen in any way because of the recent election this November. See, I'm doing what I call connecting the dots. And that's why, in my estimation, this is all my opinion. That's why, particularly now, we can't afford to relinquish our Second Amendment rights in any way, in any form. Hell, let's not stop with the Second Amendment. Let's also include all of your rights and freedoms and liberties, every bit of all the Bill of Rights. So let's get back to my original question. I'd like you to think long and hard about it. In today's environment, considering social media and all the other influences that I've mentioned up to now, do you express your true thoughts and your feelings anymore? Or do you keep them to yourselves and not express them in any public forum whatsoever? For all the reasons that I just delineated. Actually, it's your answer to provide. But with this final observation. Isn't it just a hell of a comment when I even have to second guess the position of my governments, federal, state, and local, with regard to the protection of our fundamental rights, liberties, privileges, and freedoms? Isn't that a hell of a question to even have to think about?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff DUNETZ. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff DUNETZ.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. The final half hour, the final 25, my last show of 2018. Today is December 27th, the year of our Lord 2018. At least on the West Coast it is. If you're on the right coast, it's 38 minutes after the hour, and it's tomorrow, which is the 28th, December the 28th. Next Tuesday, the new year. And where the hell did 2018 go? I was going to make this next bit into an SHR special report, but I preempted that by having a superseding SHR special report last Thursday night, which took basically the rest of the show. Mike John Pasqua asks, BZ, how's Clint's rhinoplasty? Well, what happened? Since you bring that up, I can go into it now. You've opened the door. I'll walk through it. What occurred is that the problem was of such a terrible nature that they had some planetary terraforming equipment that NASA had created in order to help Clint get through the resurfacing, I guess you could say, of his nose. And though this was massive terraforming equipment, highly, very strong industrial equipment, unfortunately, when it met Clint's nose, what happened is that this huge equipment built for billions of dollars, planetary terraforming equipment was broken when it was faced with Clint's nose and his rhinoplasty. So if you've been wondering where the SHOT Show has been for the past month or so, it's because they're at the point, the various surgeons, et cetera, are to the point where they really wonder what it is that they're going to be able to do, really, if anything, about this. So his surgery, it's up in the air. Luckily, he's well-funded. He comes from a very wealthy family. And because of that, luckily, he comes from a very wealthy Hawaiian family. They own numerous acres of sugarcane, and they also have land. We didn't want to tell you this, but they also have land in North Korea. There's sort of a sub rosa contract that was signed between the Clint family and the various Kims and Ils and Sungs that have got along, and they're making lots of money. And only with all of this money would he have been able to spend it on something as completely important, at least to him, as his nose. I mean, can you imagine? Can you feature a child that when he was, this tall, this high, that he would go through a doorway, for example, and he seriously he could injure teachers, etc. And finally, schools got tired of. I mean, they made the Clint family take out insurance, very lengthy and long forms, replete with many clauses, to make sure that, here, let me turn on the monitor here. There we go. To make sure that other children and teachers were not injured. And so that was very important to do that. As you may or may not have heard or discussed or sussed out, there is a second person in the studio right now with us.
I was doing my best Clint impression right there.
You were. And folks, that's why you need to watch the show, because you never know who's going to come into the studio, besides, I should say, BZ. And so we have Sackhead's Sean, who is doing his very level best to recuperate, because he did not have a rhinoplasty.
No, I had a simple one.
No, his issue was that of much greater simplicity. And I got to say, folks, if you're watching, and you should be watching on either the SHR Media Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel, if you are watching, you've been watching the kind of deadness, I guess you could say, of my lava lamp. Because over the years that it's been here, it's been deteriorating. It's not the active young lava lamp that it used to be.
I know how it feels.
Kind of endemic of what's been happening in my life.
And mine.
These days. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to get a new lava lamp, or maybe I'll just have to get new wax and new oil to go in there.
I think that you should fill it with goldfish.
Yes, because wax is so good for fish. And to live in an environment of oil,
yes.
That too would be excellent for the fish. Or
and make sure it's colored.
Yeah, and make sure, yes, colored water, very important. And also to make sure that when I do that I have a lamp, a little light in here that is actually that bright and that hot.
They love it when it's about 130 degrees.
Right, so that when I put my fish in there, they can literally cook in the lava lamp. Here's your fish and oil, ma'am.
And let's check the oil lamp. There's just dead fish floating, all cooked to the top. So, BZ, I was jogging by the studio on my nightly jog.
Yeah.
And I heard you discussing the horrific recovery that Sackhead Clint's having to go through.
It's terrible. But like I say, he has damaged some very seriously expensive equipment.
Very much so.
And yet still, there are numerous elements that are willing to continue to attempt to seek some kind of a solution.
Well, and I told you, I can't remember which Bond film it was. It was one of the Pierce Brosnan ones, but you know the helicopters with the chainsaws on the bottom.
Oh, right.
I think that was it GoldenEye?
If it was GoldenEye, I think that was, if it was wait a minute, was GoldenEye
no, I don't think
Pierce Brosnan or Daniel Craig?
No, it wasn't Daniel Craig.
It wasn't Daniel Craig?
It was not Daniel Craig.
I know it wasn't Sean Connery, and
nope.
it wasn't George Lazenby.
Nope. So
and I don't
wasn't
think
Roger Moore.
I don't think it was Roger Moore.
I think it was Timothy Dalton, actually, was GoldenEye. So it wouldn't have been...
George Lazenby had one... See, this I should have made this $100 question. Name the Bond actor who no one remembers.
Lazenby. But Dalton's not well remembered either.
No,
and actually, I thought he did a pretty good Bond.
I thought he did a very nice Bond.
But no, it was definitely Pierce Brosnan. It was the one with the skiing and the snow and the alpine setting. And he was being attacked by a helicopter that had the giant chainsaw that they would use, that power companies will use to trench through so they can run lines.
I love power chainsaws on helicopters. Who wouldn't like that?
And how could that ever go wrong?
No, it couldn't. No.
But I hear they're bringing that in to try to work on Clinton and hopefully get the rhinoplasty done.
Well, with that, though, I think the rotational aspect of a helicopter like that would give them a lot greater ease into certain large craters and caves and cavities
right.
of his naso. How could I say this? His nostril system, his naso system, because it's a complicated
system.
It's a complicated series of caverns that are involved.
Well, and you know when you get into large buildings, right? Because he's not a short man. When you get into large buildings,
he's fairly tall.
They have to balance air. When you get into the higher floors, because if the airflow is not balanced appropriately, it could blow the windows out.
Yes.
And it's kind of like that with Clint. He's so tall, and he has such a dramatic airflow that if they don't balance in and out, he could explode.
Well, and the other things, I didn't want to go here, but since we've opened up the door and Mike, John Pasquin, chat asked us. Oh, and Mike asked us how Demi is doing. I haven't seen Demi for a while.
She's still mad at me, but go ahead.
That could be true. I'm not going to tell him why, though.
The weeks I had Kona here has really hurt that relationship, but go ahead.
I didn't want to reveal this, is that... Okay, Sackhead's Clint does have super normal lungs. He has lungs that are attached that not most people possess.
Right.
They have a much greater strength.
14 cubic yards.
Yeah, which is, well, frankly, that's one of the reasons that the company, who I cannot name, but they built the planetary terraforming system.
Right.
That's why they believed that he would survive that effort very easily because of his superinflated lungs and his ability, his strange and grasping muscular control of his lungs, which is far beyond the abilities of most mortal men and women.
Very much so. What a lot of people don't realize either is he can actually, if he inhales appropriately, which he's practiced this, he can get the HVAC system to kick on because he can draw so much air past the thermostat that it'll have a cooling effect, and he can actually cause it to activate.
Okay, you open that door, so I'm going to walk through it too. Okay. I have to be honest. I did use his abilities one time because of the vast suction that his lungs, because they're so damn strong,
right,
and his nasal passages are infinitely larger than any just mere
and he
mortal.
Just carries all this hot air inside of him.
Yeah, but I mean, I took him up to my cabin.
Mm-hmm.
I was having the wall furnace. I was having a hell of a time. It runs on propane.
Right.
And I was having a hell of a time trying to get it to light. And all I did was have him stand inside, crack a door, and boom, just like that. He lit my system, and now the pilot is on. I'm toasty warm up there. It's been great.
Well, and you know as well as I do, we've been here, and like I said, it really affects the air conditioner the most because when he has so much hot air inside of him, and he's almost like this giant bag of wind. And you've been here when I've been trying to leave, and he's laughing, and he creates that vacuum, and I can't open the door.
Oh no! I mean, it
causes that suction, and I mean, you want to talk about, like I said, the only thing I could describe him as is like a giant bag of wind, a wind bag.
Well, yeah,
a big old wind bag.
Okay, how many times? Again, I'm speaking out of school, but I mean, we've opened that door and we're walking through it. How many times have we had to replace the ducting here because he's collapsed the ducting down here by my right foot over here,
right
behind and real close to the curtain right over here. There's a duct which is connected to all this, this tin ducting, which is where they get duct tape from, because it
not
was
duck
used,
quack quack
duct. Right, because it tapes the ducts, and we've had to replace all the ducting underneath the floors here because of the immense power of his lungs. It's costly, and it's just damn costly.
The night with all the doors shut, we didn't have any air on, and he sneezed and blew the picture window out.
Yeah, I could show people that, but
it's horrific.
It is, and it's going to cost. You got an estimate of what, like $400 or $500 for that?
Absolutely. Well,
because
now we have to put in shatterproof glass, and it has to have a flex status, which I don't know what that means. The glass guy tried to explain to me.
Well, then it has to. What we did.
Apparently, it's for high-rise buildings, but because the pressure in here changes so dramatically, the window has to have a certain flex standard in order to withstand the flexing and the air change that he causes.
I had to. You sent me on a little bit of a mission, and I can talk about it now because he's not here. On a mission to find out about locomotive glazing. And locomotive glazing is basically glazing is another word for the windows of locomotives, because as locomotives run through various areas, in urban areas, in suburban areas, out in the middle of mountains and whatnot, the glazing has to be able to stop small bullets, rocks, pieces of snow, things that fall down onto the cab, and so we've had to research the kind of glazing. It's not just glass; it's glazing. That's going to go into the window right behind us.
And hopefully, I mean, like I said,
we're just hoping it's going to be strong.
I had a relatively minor procedure, and I'm back already. And he's almost 3 weeks out now, so I'm hoping the best for him. I'm really hoping this time they can. I know the diamond carbide blades are in. I know they're trying to find a way to rig them.
They were on back order for. Well, that's okay. That's another reason. I'll just be out with it. I did put this out on social media earlier today. Is that Clint he says that he's going to be back on January 9th, which is roughly 2 weeks from now. He wasn't here what is today, Thursday? Right. Okay, I wasn't available yesterday. He wasn't available yesterday. And then next week, he was going to be off.
Right.
And so basically 2 weeks from now, I think that's 2 weeks from now,
2 weeks from now. Well, next week he was supposed to have the reform. And then that was supposed to be the final. I think that's when they were going to pour cement.
Well, they had to pour them. Well, first you have to make the mold.
Right, and that takes time.
Right, and then you have to pour the mold for the fitting, the device to be fitted.
Well, and the mold has to be sand-based because when they pour the molten lava or the molten steel for the structural integrity underneath, so you got to get that sand fitting. It has to be just right. You have to have a blacksmith come in, because I don't know if you know this, but to work steel so articulately and ornately in order to reform a nasal cavity.
It's a matter of artistry as well. It's not just, technology.
Yeah, and it's not just like a shoe.
He has to look good.
Yeah.
He has to look good.
Well, because when they finally stretch the same, it's going to be the same stuff that they put on the space shuttle, but over it,
right?
Dye it to match.
Right, kind of like the ceramic tiles.
Yeah.
But see, now, it was a hell of a job that NASA had tried to fit the ceramic tiles. They were primarily flat and square.
Right. They had to find a way to make them flex.
Well, and see, that's the point. The technology has advanced to the point
immensely.
where they've been able to make curves, make compound curves, make them thicker.
But it has to, like you said, it has to withstand his lung structure.
Light and strong. That has to be light and strong.
Yep. And like I said, he is, God, the only thing
and heat.
Hot bag of wind.
And and the heat factor also, they had to go with ceramics because here's something that I didn't know about the tiles on the shuttle. The tiles on the shuttle can heat up to like 3,000 degrees or so. And if they were running at that time, and if it was feasible for you to put a finger on them, they could be running at 3,000 degrees. You could put your human finger on a NASA shuttle tile, and you would not be burned.
Nope.
That's how effective the ceramics are
in
the tiles.
Yes.
And they had to be made of something similar to that, because when he fills his lungs up, either with an inhalation or an exhalation because of the speed of the air. It's like an SR-71 flying in the air. All the leading edges of the SR-71 are glowing red because of the heat generated because of the friction in the air. It's the same damn thing with his nose.
Right, and most people don't realize that, the amount of draw that he has.
Because
there's particles in the air.
It's phenomenal.
And particles are still mass. And even though you can't see those particles, they're still mass. So at a high rate of speed, mass versus mass is going to create friction. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And again, I don't think I'm speaking out of school, because Clint he's brought us into the fold a little bit, and he's not here.
He would want all this to be.
Yeah, he's not here to defend himself, so I don't feel bad about revealing this. But the heat that is generated generally... in the past, except for this new technology, if people would look at him and see his nose being red, and they would think that he had a cold. Clint seldom gets colds. And in the past, that's been because of the friction that was generated and the heat that's created because of the vast cubic yards of air that is either ingested or expelled by Clint. So technologically, they've had a hell of a time.
I'm glad you brought it up, because it's the time of year. Most people don't know this, but when he was young, an infant, and he was still having the same issue, because it's all relative.
Right.
That was actually the inspiration for Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Oh, this is a good time of year to bring that up.
So that's where actually that originated from, is the originator and creator of Rudolph saw Clint as an infant, saw the red nose, and like you said, like the leading edge of an SR-71, glowing red, his nose was as well.
And creating heat, though, see, maybe that's people would look at Clint and think that it was all about the illumination factor,
but it
wasn't. It wasn't.
It actually gave him a lot of shame.
Yeah. Well, and he had a troubled childhood.
He did.
Growing up.
Absolutely did.
This is all about, and they literally have spent millions of dollars on this. And it's all just trying to make Clint feel more at ease.
With himself.
Yeah. And so when he feels better, the people around him feel better, and they're more comfortable and more at ease in terms of interacting with Clint.
And like I said, I can't imagine what he's going through.
Who wouldn't want that? You don't want to be stopped from interacting logically between people. Human beings need...
And legally stopped.
Yeah, they need human contact.
Yeah.
people, and Clint is no different.
No, he's
I
know outside
human.
of his like weird robotic form, it's hard to believe that there's a human heartbeat that pumps under there, but it does.
Right, it does. I mean, you really have to get, like really deep.
And it's hard when you look into his cold, dead eyes to realize there's a soul living under there. But there is.
Right. It's like, did you ever read the book Jaws by Peter Benchley?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing that impressed me about Jaws, it was one of the first maybe 2 paragraphs of that, is he describes the eye of the shark as just as you described, as cold and dead, with no iris, and he said it was like describing a black baseball as an eye that was dead. And talking about Clint reminds me of this book by Peter Benchley.
Yeah, well, and it's just like in the movie when Quint regales the doll's eye. It's black and lifeless, Chief.
That's
it's
right.
a doll's eye.
Yeah, it is.
It's the same.
That's
the
right
same,
from the book.
The same idea. So but there's life behind it. And I think that's what most people have to take into account. And, I wish him the best because, like
we
I said,
always do.
I came back from something simple and small, but his is going to take a lot longer just based on what it is.
Yeah. Well, and we both know that he's got a hell of a series of bills to pay because, the planetary terraforming, although that company decided that they were going to, I think 3M is part of that.
It was 3M.
They contributed some cash to try to help him out. I mean, destroying that kind of equipment that is created for literal planetary terraforming.
The good part is
not going to be cheap.
All the environmentalists not allowing mining, this equipment's actually being used now instead of just sitting dormant. So that's good.
That is good. That brings up another question. I wonder if Clint had to file any EPA papers.
No, because I don't know if they're going to restrict
I don't
air.
know the answer to that.
I know that sometimes they have to file a flight plan when they're getting ready for surgery, but I don't think that's the same.
Yeah, but the thing that I understand is they did it like way out in unoccupied areas. One of them I know was way out in the Nevada desert, east of Pahrump, where Art Bell used to broadcast, and even a number of miles back there, so that it wouldn't interfere with, say, commercial flights.
Well, and they were using the salt flats for a while, but the amount of salt that he would inhale during was just too much.
That was deleterious to the very sensitive equipment.
Yep.
Well, folks, this has been the last BZ show of the year, and I think what I'd like to do, and thanks to Sackhead Sean for
and
being
we ended
here
it with
tonight.
the perfect amount of bullshit that is fitting.
No, we were just telling the truth and relating about what happens to and what is happening.
It could not be any more of a fitting end.
And why Sackhead's Clint is here. But, you're talking about Jaws, and join in if you remember this. There was a song that was sung by, I think, Richard Dreyfuss.
All three of them.
God, who was Richard? Who was the guy that played
Quint?
And
he was a tremendous actor.
He was a great actor.
Oh, goodness gracious!
No, I can't think of him.
Farewell and adieu.
And it went like this. It was a drinking song, okay, and I can relate to that.
Drinking song.
It was something similar to "Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago, and it's gone right to my head. Wherever we may roam, or land or sea or foam, you can always hear me singing this song. Show me the way to go home. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago, and it's gone right to my head. Wherever we may roam, or land or sea or foam, you will always hear me singing this song. Show me the way to go home.
Again, don't know when.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the final show in 2018 of the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. So I want to thank you for all of 2018. Thank you for listening to myself on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. You want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, BZEP. My promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by the Pratt & Whitney Corporation, Thrust. You can trust. I'd like to say thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One contingent refueling team.
Outstanding squad.
I know, which I will be consorting with in less than an hour. Thanks to Jeff DUNETZ for being here tonight. Thanks to Sackhead Sean for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Folks, have a great new year, and I'll see you in 2019. God bless, take care, be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.